Hey, how y'all doing? So today we're going to talk about jobbers. So we're going to talk about the importance of jobbers, what a jobber is, jobbers in the past, jobbers in the present, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorite jobbers a little bit later. So what is a jobber? A jobber is sometimes in the WWE called an enhancement talent or a quote unquote local competitor. Is usually a very bland, no personality, no gimmicks, nothing. It might just be a regular boots and tights type of competitor. Doesn't really matter what they look like. They might be undefined physically. They might be skinny, small, balding or something like that. Somebody who's physically not impressive, physically not interesting, because they're just a body. They're essentially a crash dummy, and that's what they exist to do. Now, depending on, well, there's two, major kinds of jobbers: the young guy and the burnouts. So you have your young guys, you'll have somebody who is maybe just starting out in the business. They're paying their dues. They're going out there taking these really ugly bumps for the stars. They're taking big clotheslines, and people usually are taking liberties on them, kicking them in the face, and all types of crazy shit like that. And then their job is to learn. One of my favorite jobber matches, if you could dare to go watch it, is Ted DiBiase and Shawn Michaels from Mid South Wrestling. I forget which year. I think it might be '84 or '83. I forget which year, but Ted DiBiase actually allowed Shawn to do a lot of stuff. As far as reversing his offense and kicking out of different stuff and stuff like that. But Shawn was just there to learn, and that's really how with young guys. It's kind of a training session. You go out there, you don't have any gimmicks of your own. You don't got no finisher. You don't got no theme song. You don't got nothing like that. Your job is to go out there and take bumps. That's what you're supposed to do. And in doing so, you learn how to work a match. You learn how to work as a jobber. You learn how to, get people over. You learn how to, buy into the fans and get fan reactions and, garner sympathy and different things like this. A perfect system for something like this is the New Japan Pro Wrestling Young Lions system. Now, the Young Lions in New Japan, they limit their moves. Like, they don't let Young Lions do certain moves. They all wear nothing but black boots and black tights. They all come out to the same theme music. They're supposed to be as nondescript as possible. And then, but through their work, they actually learn. Like, they learn how to how to fire up. They learn how to put certain moves in different places because they're all limited to the same moves. But it's all about how they put it together. So you learn the psychology a little bit more. And that's really kind of what jobbers are supposed to be. There's young people. In WWE, there might be performance center talents like I know Leon Ruff, but when he was a jobber essentially for WWE. I'm pretty sure he's still a jobber. I haven't seen him recently, but he's completely nondescript. He's a beanpole. He's just there to get beaten up, and that's really it's good for him because he gets to pay his dues to the people in the office, the people who know him, or people who hired him. And if they like him, they could actually do more with him. The Hardy Boys were some very famous WWE jobbers that ended up getting signed and getting pushed. And that's how we got Matt and Jeff today, is because they were really good job guys. So your other kind of job guys are your burnouts, your guys who are up there in age and they just been around too long and they're slowing down physically. They're not really a draw. They barely get booked as it is. But it's an opportunity for them to pass down the talent, the not the talent, they can't pass down talent, to pass down the knowledge that they've learned, to pass the torch a little bit, to further the business forward. There's been a couple of guys like that. If people realize that sometimes when a guy's a mid-carder, maybe former Intercontinental Champion, former whatever, and then he kind of slides down the card. Famously, is Tito Santana was one of those guys where he was the Intercontinental Champion in 1980 something, and then by 1992 or 1993, he's a job guy. He has a recognizable name, a recognizable face, but his job is to improve the people that he's working with. He's usually going to be working with younger talent, people, especially people younger than him. It's going to be his job to test them. So he might be getting more offense in than a young job guy. He's definitely going to get more offense in because he's a known talent. So he's definitely going to get more offense in, and he's going to test you as far as your attitude. How do you treat your jobbers? Are you there have been guys who have been absolutely brutal due to jobbers and have lost their push because of it. Perry Saturn, was probably the most recent one that I can think of. Perry Saturn beat the shit out of a jobber, hurt the guy, like slammed his head against the stairs, all kind of shit. And well, there are stories that Perry Saturn was probably going to get pushed, and then he wrecked this jobber, and all of a sudden, it kind of killed his push because he kind of saw that he was an asshole. But the older journeyman jobbers, they're typically what you see on TV. They're usually a recurring face or something like that. But that brings us to that's the old school jobbers. In modern day, WWE they hire jobbers essentially. They have jobbers on staff, and it's just guys that they may be in AEW, for instance. They may just be recurring faces. So if you watch AEW Dark, you may see the same people over and over and over again. They never win though. They may be gimmicked and have moves and theme music, but they're never going to actually win. And it maybe because of any reason, because they might not be formally signed. They might just be somebody who's coming in to do a shot, just coming in to do a job, but it's the same situation. Young guys and older burnouts, that's usually the case. And, these is a very important job, being a jobber. And the importance of being a jobber is when you're young, it's important to pay your dues, and it's important, to learn humility, how to go out there, lose with grace, be embarrassed sometimes, and learn how to fuck up, learn how to work, how to mess up, what to do, what not to do, because you're working with more established talent, and you learn humility. That's very important. And sometimes I used to when I talk to people, especially when they talk about certain folks being put into the WWE Hall of Fame or something like that, and they'll say, well, he shouldn't be there because he wasn't a top main event guy. I think somebody like Rikishi might have come to my mind, or somebody like Coco Beware or something like that. And I will always say to them, I would say, the NFL has like offensive linemen, right? There's like offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Now, defensive lineman is a little bit sexier than offensive lineman. People don't know who the fucking offensive lineman is. Like if you could walk past an NFL offensive lineman, not know who he is. But he's very important to the game. People who know the game know how important that guy is. That's job guys. The job guys are in the trenches. They're not the star quarterback. They're not the star running back or the wide receiver or the safety or the linebackers. They're the guys that clash with other guys. And sometimes people in the business know how important they are, more so. And that's how they, more so than the audience. But that's also how they last so long. So you'll have a guy like Bob Holly, who will be around forever. And you'd be like, how the hell does Bob Holly have a longer career than The Rock? And it's like, well, because he played his part as a job guy when he first got there. He was pushed a little bit, just enough to when they flipped him to being a job guy, people knew that he had the ability to win matches. But of course, he actually never fucking won anything. And then eventually they kind of gave him a little bit more, but he was still never really got out of that whole being a job guy position. He was just being given a little bit more credibility in order to do those jobs. Now, in the past, in like the 80s or whatever, if you were trapped as being a jobber, the way to get out of it would be to switch territories. So if you were, on the placard, you see Marty Lundy, Lund, I think it is NDE or something like that. That's Arn Anderson, right? He was a jobber for Mid-South Wrestling. And he was a recurring jobber for Mid-South Wrestling. And in order to get out of being a jobber, he moved to a different territory, took up a different name. That's when he came up with the Arn Anderson name. And he became somebody different. That's how you escape becoming a jobber, is you will just basically jump territories. This was before, jobbers were, on TV every week and become associated with a gimmick and all that type of stuff. Now, jobbers really started to change kind of with Barry Horowitz. I think, I'm pretty sure there might have been some territory jobbers that, were kind of more what I'm saying, that had, the local audience on their side. Because I know certain people talk about certain job guys. But for me, the jobber really kind of changed with Barry Horowitz. Because Barry Horowitz, yes, was a regular jobber, but he had, a little bit of personality. He had a little bit of spark. And occasionally he actually won. Like he won one match against Skip from the Body Donnas, and I remember the place like fucking exploded because Barry Horowitz never wins, you know. So it was like, wow, he won. It was unbelievable. And then when he beat Hakushi, the place exploded again, you know, because it was like, wow, this guy, he actually has, you know, some talent. And that's, you know, that was also Vince kind of putting the screws to Hakushi and Skip from the Body Donnas, who is Chris Candido, by the way. But it was just a way of giving a jobber some type of credibility, you know, showing that he can win. So when he goes back to jobbing, you can go. The fans won't fall asleep. Like, okay, I know Barry Horowitz just going to lose. Wah, who cares? Now, if you surprise him with, oh, he's capable of an upset. Psychologically, people are now more engaged. They're like, oh, maybe Barry Horowitz can win. And then also, they started adding gimmicks to him and gave him theme music and all that type of stuff too, right? So, you know, but the jobber to the stars are people who are. It's a little bit more of a nuanced concept because these are kind of like lower mid card guys who when they defeat jobbers, but they can't beat the higher level mid card X. So, you know, that's different. But Barry Horowitz kind of changed the face of jobbers as far as I'm concerned, like for me, because he started really paying a little bit more attention to them, you know. But now jobber is completely weird. Like some people, like, it's kind of odd to say it, but like R-Truth is a jobber. You know, R-Truth almost never wins like a regular match. He barely even wrestles regular matches anymore, you know. And he's what you would call a journeyman jobber because he's almost 50. Right? Then you have guys like Santino Marella, you know, a guy was multiple time Intercontinental Champion, multiple time United States Champion. He almost won the Royal Rumble, almost won the Money in the Bank, but he was never a major player. And you could beat Santino in 30 seconds and people would be like, okay, that makes sense. And he'd be, but because he had personality, he had so much character, he could bounce back from that. But that's not really the kind, like R-Truth and Santino Marella are not really the kind of guys I'm talking about here. You know, they're more jobber to the stars kind of guys. But lower than that is the guys I'm really kind of thinking about when I talk about enhancement talent or jobbers. So let's talk about some of my favorite jobbers. I really only have one favorite jobber, and it's the Brooklyn Brawler. For some reason, the Brooklyn Brawler is still under WWE contract today as I record this video. Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, who has wrestled as at least 4 or 5 different WWE characters, is still under contract. I don't know what the fuck he does, but he's still under contract. But I like the Brooklyn Brawler. I like the look of the Brooklyn Brawler. The torn t-shirt he had when he had the cigar, he had the hat. He was always dirty and stuff. He was always dirty. He looked like a brawler, like he just stepped out of, you know, Streets of Rage or one of those kind of video games where all they wore is t-shirts and jeans. So it was like Final Fight or Streets of Rage or something like that. Like he might have been a bad guy in one of those games, but he kind of like stepped out of that. And I always kind of thought the Brooklyn Brawler was cool, you know, and he was my favorite job guy. But I think that's it. I don't really have any favorite jobbers, you know. I mean, they exist to be ignored. You know, that's kind of what their purpose is, you know. But if you want to, you can definitely look at a talent and tell how they work with job guys, you know, whether they have something or not. You know, is what they're doing impressive? And you can also see that sometimes when they hire jobbers, and this is why I think Vince McMahon stopped hiring jobbers, is because, you know, there will be times where jobbers would not have he would stop hiring local, quote unquote, local competitors. Because, you know, obviously the two instances of Triple H dropping that jobber on his head in the pedigree, and the one other jobber who got his neck broken by Marty Jannetty because he didn't know how to take the rocker dropper. You know, those sorts of things where you just pick up local talent. You don't know what their skill level is. You don't know what their, you know, are they rookies? Have they been around for a long time? Do they even watch the show? Are they still in shape? You know, it's hard to tell when these guys are not signed, you know. And I think that's kind of around that era is when Vince kind of stopped using quote unquote local competitors and started just really just having regular jobbers that traveled on the road, so he can make sure, hey, I know who this guy is and I know what his skill level is. He knows the guys, he knows everything, and that became a little bit different. But do you guys have any favorite jobbers? Let me know. Let me know what you think of this video. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later. This is my hot tag segment. So I Googled a picture of the Brooklyn Brawler and I stumbled upon an article from Rolling Stone. And it's called Don't Call Me a Jobber. The Brooklyn Brawler Never Backed Down from Nothing. It is by Kenny Herzog. And it's a short article on the Brooklyn Brawler. So I figure I would read it, considering I just said this is my favorite jobber. So I'm going to tack this on to the end of the video. So if you're still with me, we're going to talk about this little piece here. So, not even Steve Lombardi, aka the Brooklyn Brawler, can easily distill his current role as backstage producer with WWE. All he knows is it's a Tuesday in February at Atlanta Phillips Arena. SmackDown tapes in 6 hours. An assorted road crew are whizzing by him with cases of cumbersome equipment as he negotiates a half-hour conversation. It doesn't have a year. Oh, it's 2015. It's from 2015, March 11th. I'll put this in the description if you want to read it. Once our time is up, he might be coordinating radio promotion with talent, shooting interviews for upcoming home video releases, organizing international advertising spots for helping finesse that evening's promos, as well as was the case during his 3-decade and technically still active wrestling career. Lombardi's made a living accepting whatever task is asked of him, regardless of formal training or initial expertise. Based in rough and tough Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, alongside 3 siblings by his airplane mechanic dad and homemaker mother, Lombardi developed a scrappy, self-made ethos that served him well later in life. Like so many grapplers of his generation, he got hooked on sports entertainment by flipping through trade mags and discovering the likes of Bruno Sammartino, and more specifically by tuning into the Local 47's Lucha Libre wrestling program. That's fucking awesome. While studying biochemistry at nearby St. Francis College, Lombardi scored his first tickets to a live WWF event at Madison Square Garden. Afterwards, he was tipped off that talent hung out post-show at the nearby Savoy Hotel. He tailed them there, approached the likes of King Kong Mosca about how they got their start, and was summarily swatted away. Undeterred, he took judo classes. That's awesome. And kept pestering those guys at the Savoy until regional WWF booker producer Arnold Scollin gave him a shot as enhancement talent under his real name. After years of working several matches a night and making headliners look good, a portion of that spent tag teaming with his fellow enhancement legend, Barry Horowitz. Lombardi finally got his push in 1989 when he was repackaged under manager Bobby Heenan as the cigar-chomping Brooklyn Brawler. The character's success was fleeting, ditto his tenure with the Brain, but Lombardi endured the WWF, WWE television for years, albeit primarily in the losing column under the Brawler persona, in addition to a brief spell as the notorious Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, and occasional spot duty as Kamala's masked handler Kimchi and Doink the Clown. Benefiting his brief baseball-inspired gimmick, Lombardi was the company's ultimate utility man, and still makes sporadic appearances as the Brawler, most notably in a victorious effort before his hometown Brooklyn crowd at 2012 TLC. So with a tip of his stogie to Vanity Fair's In the Details interview series, here's a panoply of eccentric biographical data, re. the Brooklyn Badass. He likens the longevity to that of a senator. Not every senator becomes a president, you know what I mean? But my goal was to have a steady work for the rest of my life. His destiny was written from day one. In his mother's baby books, she ascribed Steve is always wrestling with his brothers. I think when he gets older, he's going to be a wrestler. He had no fear as a kid. I never backed down from nothing, he says, adding that his lack of timidity was bred in me because I had 2 brothers who were nothing like me. He wrestled his first WWF match against the late Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. That's fucking cool. That's a cool factoid. He was the first WWE opponent of both The Rock and his father, Rocky Johnson. He recalls the former as being a skinny little kid with an afro. His arm completely pops out and goes the other way during a match with Barry Horowitz in New Jersey against Paul Roma and Jim Powers, but he finishes the bout. He then be sidelined for 3 months. He acknowledges, quote, "You're always worried about job security," but says, "I knew I was diligent about what I do, so I really wasn't too worried." He feels, quote, "There is a lot of bitter guys today who will tell you things that simply aren't true." He never had any issues with getting along with Horowitz, though he laughs remembering how, quote, he was always grooming himself. We would share a room and he'd be like, "You gotta put my knee pad to dry on this lamp." He describes having been managed by Heenan as, quote, "a great privilege," praising the brain's gift of gab, and considers just being labeled as being in the Heenan family as a dream come true. He explains that far as playing Kimchi on the DL, weird, when you got a mask on and a safari outfit on, it's pretty easy to be conspicuous. He views his current role with WWE as taking mental bumps rather than taking physical ones. He credits a rapport with the wrestlers with helping him transition into the role of producer. He doesn't see the diminished role of enhancement talent as a lost art, because even in the upper level, they're all workhorses. And that, even if it's a main event match, one guy's enhancing the other. That's fucking awesome. I love that. That's great. He never looked what he did as simply jobbing out. You can call anybody a jobber. He concludes, "A jobber means nothing to me." All right, so apparently Rolling Stone did probably a couple of these things on different jobbers. There's some more jobbers they've done interviews with, I'm guessing, because there's some in the related post here. But I don't want to take you guys out of here too long. We can sit here all day and talk about goddamn jobbers. I just kind of want to see if but I thought that the Steve Lombardi one was pretty fun because he doesn't really get a lot of credit, and he probably should, for being, as long tenured as he is, and he apparently got a really great psychology for what he was actually doing. And I like the concept of, he was enhancing talents and talents was enhancing him. Oh, they also did an interview with Barry Horowitz. They got another one with Paul Roma. Wow, they have a laundry list of these things. So maybe we will go through these. Maybe we'll go through them one at a time. But that's all I got to talk about, because today my favorite jobber was the Brooklyn Brawler. So that's why I'm gonna put this up with it. And maybe we'll go, if you guys react positively towards this, maybe we'll go through these again. But let me know in the comment section below. This is my real sign off this time, and I'll talk to you guys later.